Good evening.
I'm a product of the Cabro. Well, I wasn't born up here, but I went to school at Northside. Anybody here went to Northside Elementary? That's what I'm talking about. Then I went here at middle school and I graduated from Green Oaks. Grew up on the corner of Northside and Kelsey. Anybody live close to that? Northside and Kelsey. Dude, that's good. That's good. Not young, are you?
I am.
Well,
I'm not a young one.
That's what I'm talking about. And if you go home and ask your grandparents, you remember my name, it's not going to be your parents, it's going to be your grandparents that I'm going to be along there with. And actually, you know, down Otis, they'll show you where I grew up. But today, I was invited to talk to you. This presentation, it really does not fit you, but it's entitled Knowledge is Power. And you can apply it to any situation. But this particular presentation, and I'm going to try to walk around so y'all can see it at all times, but this particular presentation deals with your interaction with law enforcement, since that is a profession of mine. Anybody in this room 15? 15. Anybody in here older than 15? 16. Okay, that's good. There's no 17 years old, and it's 17.
Right
Okay.
up.
Okay, well listen, 16 years old, 16 years old. Okay, listen to me. When you turn 17, you're no longer considered a juvenile, even though you have juvenile abilities in the eyes of the law. Once you turn 17, you're considered an adult. There are situations when you're 16 and below, if you find yourself in, you can be charged as an adult. I'm going to talk to you a little bit again about knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. It's going to be in the form of law enforcement, but it can be applied to your everyday life. I would like for you to really, really pay attention. In the end, if you have any questions, I will welcome the questions. Some of this will not apply to you, but I'm going to try to make it apply. Knowledge is power if you learn nothing else. Somebody say, what did Mr. Otis talk about? He talked about knowledge is power. But you must understand what knowledge is, and you must understand what power is. You must understand what knowledge is, the definition, and you must understand what power is, the definition. But you must know that I call it the do's and the don'ts when coming in contact with law enforcement. And you're at the age to where you will be coming in contact with law enforcement, whether you want to or not. You will start driving. Anybody driving at this point, whether legal or illegal, okay? You will come in contact with law enforcement officers when you're driving, whether it's through a checkpoint, whether it's through the contact of a traffic stop. But you must know how to handle that situation when you come in contact. Let's take this word knowledge, and what does it mean? Knowledge is just information and skills acquired through an experience or education. You're here in school. Your learning abilities will differ as I go from person to person, but your main focus should be on learning knowledge. You have to understand the subject. Whatever subject you're taking, I'm applying it to your schoolwork. Later we're going to get into law enforcement, how this word knowledge can help you. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Let's take the word power. Power is the ability to do something or act in a particular way. Strength and authority. And I put an eagle up there because the eagle has a wingspan of about 6 feet, if I'm not mistaken. It's a big bird. It soars high. The lion, power. It's the king of the beast. When the lion arrives at the water hole, if you ever watch a nature picture, every other animal moves around for the lion, the king of the beast, power, authority, having the ability to act in a particular way, strength and authority. If you understand, have an understanding of the subject, what the subject matter is, you could, and I didn't say you would, but you could have the ability to control the outcome of the situation. I'm going to apply this to law enforcement. You're confronted by a police officer. In your mind, you know that you have not done anything wrong. You have to understand, first of all, why you've been confronted by the police officer. Understanding why you're being confronted by the officer, you could have the ability to control the outcome of the situation. I don't know if you ever heard this. It's not what you say sometimes, it's how you say it. I can stand up here and say the same thing several different ways, and it will have different meaning. First thing, I didn't say, what's your name? What's your name, son? Let me use your name. What's your last name? Mason. I'm going to use this last name. I didn't say Mason said that. I didn't say Mason said that. Hey, I didn't say Mason said that. I said the same thing 3 different ways, same words. Each way I said it, it had a different meaning. Y'all agree?
Agreed.
Y'all agree? Y'all agree? If you understand the situation, you can have the ability to change the outcome of the situation. Driving along, get stopped by the police. At that point, you and the officer start out on the same level. Why'd you stop me, officer? Well, sir, I stopped you because. Why you stop me, officer? That elevation in your voice just changed the situation. Are you in control of the situation? I don't think so, because you just took it from here, where you and the officer were on the same level, and you just took it here. Do you think he's going to come up to here? He's going here.
He's going there.
Oh, you think? People are destroyed because of their lack of knowledge. If you don't know, if you don't understand, if I stand up here and talk to you in French or Spanish, and you do not speak French or Spanish, do you understand what I'm saying? No, you do not. You really do not. Repeat this with me. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
One more time.
Knowledge is power.
If you learn nothing else today, you will learn that knowledge is power whether you apply it or not. But one day, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be the next day. You will encounter an officer and you'll think about what Mr. Otis said. Mr. Otis said, knowledge is power and I have the ability to control it. Can you see that picture? He's being carried away by the police. But look at that face. Look at his hands. And then you wonder, why is this guy looking like that? Because when you are stopped or confronted by a law enforcement officer, you should be polite, respectful, and you should stay calm. And you say, well, Mr. Otis, I don't know if I can stay calm if I had these police officers all around me. Yeah, you can. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you, if he has done nothing wrong, he's been carried away like that. All he has to do, and I'm not trying to teach you how to get paid. He get him an attorney if he stayed polite, respectful, and calm, and he's right, then he file a lawsuit. He's going to get paid. But that's when you're polite, respectful, and calm. When you're not, you end up in that position right there. Now, I'm sure at some point, we all have seen this position right here, and the first thing we assume that the popo is wrong. But we don't know what the situation is. We don't know the circumstances. We don't know what this guy has done. Hopefully you watch the news. When you watch the news, we always say there was no good news on. And we call good news something bad that has happened. That's not good news, but that's what sells the news. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, this guy is responsible for robbing a bank. He shot through the roof, and this is a true story. It happened a week or so ago. Robbed the bank, shot through the roof. Police catches him, and he fights with the police. And he ends up in that position. Now you know the circumstances. It changes the way you feel about the police, because let's make this same guy rob the bank, shot up the bank. He's running toward your front door, and you are home alone, and the police stop and catch him right before he busts through your front door when you're home alone. You're happy with the police now. Oh yeah, you love the police now. So don't judge the situation by what you pass by and see. True story. I'm in law enforcement. I'm riding along. I see a young girl run out the front door. I see a man run behind her and grab her and pull her back in the house. I'm in law enforcement. This is a true story. I need one hand. Somebody tell me what I should do. Okay, hold on. What you think I should do?
You should get out your car, get your gun ready, and see what's going on in the house.
Hold on. Now, that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. Because my decision was based upon what I saw. Young girl run out the house, grown man grab her, he does not see me, and he pulls her back in the house. I'm a police officer. I'm thinking, young lady is in trouble. I got a good one now. I pull my gun up, coming up like I'm Barney Fife. I got a good one now. Knock on the door, there is no answer. But I need to go in. I need to go in to find out what is going on. I break the door down with my gun out, because in my mind, she needs help. You know what the situation was? That was her father. She takes insulin. She does not like the needle. She was running, and there is a certain time, if you take insulin, you have to shoot up the insulin. True story. I'm not making this up. But I can stand here all day and talk to you about my experience as a law enforcement officer. But I'm going to tell you before I leave, growing up on the Cooper Road, it was instilled in my mind that you do not socialize with the police, and the police is bad. And I grew up thinking that. But we have a complaints division. I say we, and I still talk in the sense as if I'm a police. My commission card says for life. So I will be a police officer for life. But if you feel like you're wrong, like this guy, don't know what he did, but he's all bleeding, bloody, he needs first aid. But you don't act, can I say a fool in here? You don't act a fool with the police. Because remember I said we started out on the same level? You take it here, he's going to take it like young man. What's your name, last name?
Winwood.
Who? Winwood. I know what you said. I just wanted to see if they were listening. I know what you said. But the police is going to take it to the next level. But if you end up like this, and you're right, there is a way to file a complaint. So you don't have to be out there acting a fool, because knowledge is power. And when you have the knowledge, you can control possibly the outcome of the situation. Now you sit down like this, you run into a police officer and he has his finger all pointed, because they all want to point the finger and pump you in the chest to get your attention because you're looking somewhere else. But there is a rule, and this is a real rule. Rule 100.47, I've used this so much, where officers have to be courteous to you. They can't talk to you a certain way. They can't curse you out. They can't give you the finger. They can't use profane language, rude gestures. They can't be violent with you. And a lot of you didn't know that because you grew up just like me. It's instilled in you not to like the police because all police are bad. But somebody sitting in here has a personal relationship with a police officer. You know them on a first name basis. They probably come to your house, hang out with your parents. Well, what makes that person different from any other police officer that wears the uniform? They're all the same. How is he so good, is she so good, and all the other police officers are so bad? But it's about perception. Somebody tell me who that is.
Too short.
Who said that? Look at you. It's cool. I like that. I have Too Short up here. He's an older rapper. I don't know which rappers you're listening to now. But I like Too Short. Because, let me tell you why. And I say, rappers can have our children make us geniuses. The children, if they rap about positive things. Too Short had a rap. And here, listen to this rap. Listen to Too Short's rap. Now see, you're looking at this guy. Yeah, you're looking at this guy. You missed it. You missed Too Short's quote. Listen to his quote. When you're ignorant, you get treated that way. You get treated that way. And when they throw you in jail, this guy right here, you got nothing to say. So if you don't listen to me, it's not my fault. I'm standing up here, I've made my career. I'm going to be getting paid, and you're going to be paying the cost. You're going to be going to jail before a guy like this, after seeing some guys like this, making you eat the hood of the car, because when Mr. Otis was standing up here, you didn't listen to him, and he told you knowledge was power, and you have, and you got, and all of that stuff, the ability to control the situation, but you wanted to, instead of saying, excuse me, officer, why are you stopping me, sir? You said, what you stopping me for? You need to be out there arresting criminals. Well, he said, well, I have a criminal. You're right here. What did I say?
Knowledge is power.
So you don't end up like that and looking at a guy like that. Now this word, ignorant, it sounds like a dirty word. Ignorant. And nobody wants to be called ignorant, but the definition of ignorant is just a state of being uninformed. If I come to your school, not knowing what time school lets out, I'm ignorant to the fact that I don't know what time school gets out. So I plan to be here, what time did it get out, like 5 o'clock? What time did it get out? 5. See, I'm ignorant to that. 3 o'clock. And if I try to hold you here till 5, somebody gonna call me ignorant. Man, you ignorant. It's time for us to go. It's a lack of knowledge. That's all it is. But nobody wants to be called ignorant. So what did I say?
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. You encounter police officers. You don't want to be in this position because you're not the police, so most likely you're going to be here. Right here. And you want to keep your hands where the officer can see them at all times and don't ever touch. Tell me why. Can somebody tell me why? Oh, man. All right, so this is a smart man. He's smart. He's a smart guy right here. Tell me why you don't ever want to. Well, no, let's back up. Tell me why you want to keep your hands so the officer can see.
Because like he want to shoot you because he gonna think you reach for your gun.
Right, because now let's stop right there. If you're standing around talking to your boys, your homies, I pull up in my car. I get out, I'm the police officer, and I have my hand on my gun, and I walk up to you. Hey, what's up there? Y'all need to get off this corner, and you need to be gone when I get back. How this gonna make you feel?
Ain't gonna make you want to shoot.
There you go. But if I come up to you and say, young man, you can't be on this corner. Now, a lot of times that don't work. The young man, y'all can't be on the corner stuff. That does not work. It does not. But the point is, you want to keep your hands where they can see your hands, and you don't want him, the officer, to approach you with the hands on the gun. Don't ever touch your officer. Tell me why.
Because he's gonna try to body slam me.
He gonna try to body slam you, or he's gonna body slam you. Which one he gonna do?
He gonna body slam
He gonna body slam you. So, you have your hand up. You have a different answer?
They're trying to attack him.
There you go. So the thing is, if we're talking face to face in a dialogue, I'm not doing anything aggressive toward you, and I have the gun. Why would you be aggressive toward me? Don't make sense. It does not make sense. Believe it or not, polices are ordained to be police and have the rule over you. There has to be authority. At the school, you have a principal. The principal is in authority. You have the staff. The staff is in authority to you. You're like me. When I was working, I was the lowest man on the totem pole at one time. So everybody above me was in authority. So it is ordained that you have people in authority. Without that, you know what this world would be like? It would be total chaos. It would be total chaos. The person with the largest gun would rule if there was no rules and regulation. This little fella here, he wants to get in this nice police car. And I don't know if I became a police officer to drive around in a nice police car, but they didn't have Dodge Chargers when I first came on. But you have to understand, we're back to knowledge and power. When you interact with any officer, you always want to know who you're talking to. They have badges with badge numbers. Well, I take that back. The new officers that are just getting on, because of technology, there is no badge number. Not anymore. But they all have name tags. And if you refer to people by their name, you tend to get a little bit more respect, because I wouldn't want you to call me hey man, especially when I said my name is Otis. I would want you to call me Otis. And I wouldn't address you as hey girl, hey boy. No, I would want to ask your name, and then we make it a little bit more personal. I said earlier, you're starting to drive. Even if it's not driving, you will encounter a police officer. There are 3 types of stops that police officers make, and you're going to fall into one of these categories. The one I would want to fall in is what's called a casual encounter. That's you and your homeboys, you and your homegirls, you're standing around just talking. Officer drives up, asks you how you doing. You don't have to stick around. You can ask if he starts talking in a manner that you don't want to hear him and you're not being detained, can I leave? You leave. You don't have to listen to that. But we're back on the same. You started out on the same level. If you don't want to hear it, don't aggravate the officer talking crazy to him. Just leave the situation. That's a casual encounter. You have what is called a detention. Now, this little fella is riding his motorcycle with training wheels, and I was trying to figure out why would he get stopped. But I realized it's because he's not wearing a helmet. Now see, everybody sitting in the room probably was thinking he's too young to ride the motorcycle, right? You're reading into it. He just does not have a helmet on. But you have what is called a detention stop. This is when the police officer has reasonable suspicion. And listen to what reasonable suspicion is. It's when an officer suspects a person has been, is, or about to engage in something criminal. So in order to do that, you have to be looking suspicious, acting suspicious, doing something. If you're walking around in front of a bank with your hands in your pocket and you keep peeping around the corner, I think that's a little suspicious. If you're in Walmart and you're over where the DVDs are, and you take it out of the wrapper, I don't think you're taking it out of the wrapper to see if it's a real DVD, and you start looking around to see if anybody's looking, I think you're starting to look a little suspicious. So that's what the officer is looking for. Then you become detained. It's a detention. But you can always politely ask the officer, am I being arrested? Talk to the officer. You know, what have I done? Why are you stopping me? Then the third one is the arrest. If you're at this stage, it's a little too late. When the officer said, you're under arrest for your part in the offense of carjacking, you had a right to remain silent. You're not required to make a statement unless you do so voluntarily. Anything you say can and will be held against you in court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you can't afford one, one will be appointed to represent you without a charge. Now, with the understanding waiver of these rights, just explain to you, do you wish to make a statement and tell how this happened? If you ever hear that, shut up. If you ever hear that, be quiet. Let me tell you why. Because if you start talking, and I was a detective once, and I would read people their rights, and I couldn't tell them, shut up. Oh, I didn't do nothing wrong. Let me tell you what happened. Well, he came and picked me up. I didn't know he was going to rob the bank. He pulled up to the bank, and he went in his trunk, and he pulled out this street sweeper, and next thing I know, I heard all these gunshots. Well, I just got down in the seat. He jumped in the car. He put all his money in the car, and I didn't know he was going to rob the bank. Well, now, wait a minute. That's a little bit too much information. Do you think you're going to jail for bank robbery for being, yeah, you laughing, you busting your, yeah, you going to jail for bank robbery. Now, if you would be quiet, shut your face, don't say nothing. When he said you had a right to remain silent, I'm going to be quiet. You get an attorney. You tell the attorney, man, this dude picked me up. I wasn't feeling well because I had that bad McDonald's hamburger. Well, man, there you go. See, it's that voice. There you go. I had that bad hamburger, and I was actually in the back seat sleeping. Next thing I know, I was awakened by gunfire. And this dude jumps in the car and takes off. I tried to get out, but then, it was like the Flintstones. I put my feet out the door and the car wouldn't stop. Well, you may get off from bank robbery, but if you start talking like you were talking earlier, I said knowledge is power. You have to know when to talk and know when to be quiet. There is a time for everything. It's a time to laugh. It's a time to be quiet. It's a time to talk. But when you're being interrogated for bank robbery, that's funny to you, man. I want my attorney. I don't want to talk. And if you ever, once you turn 17, everything you do as a juvenile, it's in a juvenile file, it's locked away. But once you turn 17, anything you do, it becomes an adult record. Once you get an adult record, a criminal record poses one more barrier that successfully stops you from getting housing. When you go to apply for an apartment, even on the application now, they ask you, have you ever been convicted of a felony? It's getting to the point where they're asking, have you ever been arrested? And it'll stop you from getting a job. It'll stop you from getting a job. So think about it. You're still in school, but you're going to be looking for that job because you want those, I think the lady said a pair of good Jordans cost $195. I don't own Jordans. They cost too much for me. I'm still a Chuck Taylor man. Give me some All-Stars. But those Jordans are too much. But if you get a record, it stops you from getting housing and employment, which is not good. So you have to think about it. Let's say you're 14, 15, you tack 10 years on, that's going to put you 24, 25. If you're not thinking where you want to be by the time you turn 24, 25, then something is wrong. Because for one thing, you shouldn't be at your mama's house. And ladies, if you meet a young man and he's 25, 30 years old, and he stay with his mama, and his mama is not walking on a cane when he's taking care of her, you leave him alone because that's another story for another day. I'll come back to that. But you need to think about where you you want to be in the next, where you want to be, where you're going to be in the next 10 years. If you haven't thought about it, you won't be here unless you're teaching. Ain't that the right principle? They shouldn't be here, not in school at 25, 30 years old. That's too old. That's too old. But listen to what I say. It is so critical to understand the laws that affects your life on the street. If you don't know the law is really in your favor. The laws, if you read a book. Now, watch this. I worked in the penal system, in the jail system, and it's amazing how people can go to jail and they learn so much about the law when the same information is available to them before they go to jail. All they have to do is pick this book up and learn what their rights are. It determines the outcome of any situation. But know your rights when interacting with law enforcement and the legal advice that's available to you in the community. Now, I'm standing up here for free. I'm giving you advice, and right now you're thinking it really don't mean a whole lot to me today. But you may be riding with an adult, and I wish I had this Chris Rock. I couldn't show it here today, but Chris Rock has this little clip about what not to do when interacting with the police, and he's in the car with a friend of his, but I can't even really talk about it. But the friend is doing all the talking for Chris Rock, and he's the driver. So let's pretend you're the driver, and the police officer asks you to let me see your driver's license. I'm your passenger. Now watch how I'll make it hard for you. I tell you ain't incorrect grammar I'm about to use, but I say to you, you ain't got to show him nothing. And you tell me to be quiet. And I say, well, you the one that was talking about the police officer prior to him coming up. And you're thinking about this, why don't you be quiet? But your friends, people you socialize with, can also determine how the outcome dealing with a police officer, because they will tell you they have experience dealing with an officer. And I'm telling you, if you are polite to the officer, most likely you can control the outcome of the situation. I'm going to recap for a few minutes. So you don't end up in that position, right there, sitting on the curb with your hands behind your head, because I'm sure we all have seen that. That is not a position you want to be in. Or, like Buckwheat right here. Now look at him. See that lady, and that's why I say, you young ladies, you can be police officers. She's handling her business with my boy right here. And he's not really listening to anything that's going on. But you have to be calm. You have to be polite. You can ask questions long as your questions are in a respectful manner. You keep your hands where the officer can see them. Don't touch the officer. Get as much information as possible in the event you have to file a complaint. Because if you want to file a complaint and you don't even know anything about the incident that you're involved in, that's not going to be helpful. And last and foremost, remember this.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Sergeant John, I'd like to thank you. This will conclude the presentation. It looked like a pretty smart group. The last two groups had questions. If you have any questions, I'll take them at this time. I will take them at this time. But I enjoy being here. I enjoyed you listening to me. And you have a fine group of young people. Thank you again.
Got a question?
Question? Yes, sir. Do I have it or do I have it on? No, you can't bring guns in the school setting. I do not have a gun on me. Do I need it? No, I do not have a gun on me. Yes, sir.
Will you call me with this age?
Yes, sir. I comb it every morning. I cut it every morning. Good question. It will get bigger. Look real, right?
I thought this side was looking so much more intelligent than this side.
Y'all listen to I'm sorry. Man, when I first came on, the cars were real large Chevrolet Capris, those big long ones that all the children want to have now. And here's the mindset. I don't understand this. And maybe somebody can help me with this. I see all these young men, they go out and buy all of these old police cars and they want to ride around in the same car that took you to jail, but you want to go and buy a police car and fix it up and ride around in it. Another story, another day. Any other questions, young people? I really enjoy coming to the school. Again, I grew up on the Cooper Road. There's nothing that you're going through that I didn't go through. I actually sat in this same little gym right here, and I told the other class, knowing where you came from, I used to cut class and show you we were not that smart, because we would hide in the bleachers back here. And when the principal would come, one come this way, one, so that means you've done it too. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we would hide in the bleachers, and when the principal would come, we were caught. But I did everything that you're doing, but nothing else. Get your education. It's so important. I wish that somebody would have talked to me like I'm talking to you. But let me tell you about my job. I'm going to change it in a few minutes. I think we have a few minutes left. I'm going to change this. Earlier I said I didn't like the police, and I grew up on the Cooper Road. The Cooper Road wasn't even in the city limits. There were sheriffs up here patrolling. It didn't have the 5 lanes. It was a tar dirt road. Believe it or not, it was a tar dirt road. But the police, to us growing up, were bad guys. That's what was instilled in us, that the police are bad guys. And if that's instilled in you, the police were not bad guys. And I'll be a police officer for life. I have a commission card that says it for life. But being a police officer has opened so many other doors for me. So many other doors. I came up through the ranks, a little grunt officer, and I stayed there long enough to be a commander where I would discipline police officers for doing bad things. I retired. I went to the sheriff department, worked there a while in corrections just to see what it's like being in corrections, and that is not a good feeling. A lot of people will tell you going to jail is like summer camp. That's a lie. I've been to summer camp and I've worked in the jail, and it's not like summer camp. How can it be like summer camp when you're sleeping on a metal? When you go to jail and you're bad, you're sleeping on a piece of metal. You're locked down for 23 hours a day. When I say locked down, you do not see the outside. There's a hole in the roof to where you see the sky, because they have to show you the outside. They don't have to let you go outside. But you're locked down for 23 hours. And hopefully, you'll let me come back at another date, and I can give them the presentation on being locked down 23 hours a day. It's not fun. You're cut off from society. It's not fun. But I've been in my career long enough to retire. And I said earlier, if you're not thinking about what you want to be in life, then there's a problem here. I've made a career for myself, but I have the ambition to go further. I have the ambition because of law enforcement. It has opened the opportunity for me to be something else in life. And I do have that ambition, and I'm not going to tell them now. If you have me back at another date later, then I'll tell them about what I'm trying to do, what I'm going to do. But sitting here like you're sitting, I wish somebody would have taken the time and talked to me. And I learned it the hard way. I learned it the hard way. That the opportunity is there, but you have to apply yourself. It was good being in mama's house, waiting on mama to cook me something to eat. But one day, I graduated from school. And mama said, okay, what are you going to do? I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to my room. She said, no. It's time for you to get out of the nest. It's time for you to fly on your own. You don't think about that now, but the opportunity is coming, and it's coming before you know it. The man back there, since you were talking to me, what do you want to be in life? I'm not putting you on the spot. We just want to talk a minute.
I would have played NBA
You want to play what? In the NBA. Now that is good. Saturday just passed, I talked to the football team at Huntington, and a lot of them said they want to play pro ball. And I said, I'm not putting you on the spot, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I want you to think about this. In order to play pro ball, you have to finish high school. You have to finish college. You have to have some skills. So you have to sharpen your skills. If you don't finish high school, well, the percentage rate just went down as far as you playing pro ball. And that's in any profession, whether you want to be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, a fireman, no matter what. If you don't apply yourself and think about it, no matter what anybody tells you, you can be anything you want to be if you apply yourself. If you apply yourself. But I came up through the ranks, and I'm back talking to you today, hoping that I said something. And if I didn't say anything else to you that you can remember knowledge is power. Read and apply yourself, and you will be amazed as to where you can go and what you can do in life, because the opportunity is there. And the only thing that will stop you is you. Thank you again for having me.